Check. Can I have your attention, please? We're going to get this show on the road. We've got voting going on over here and all kinds of stuff. So come on in, Madam Speaker, welcome. Mr. Secretary, welcome. So we're going to get started. So on behalf of the House Agriculture Committee, I want to welcome all of you here today to this wonderful room here on the third floor of the Longworth Building. And we're going to have people watching virtually, apparently. Got that streaming going. So I want to say congratulations to Mike on this rite of passage. We look forward to having Mike keeping an eye on us from above the fireplace and making sure that we don't do anything too out of line in the future. So we're looking forward to that. And I was going to peek, but I didn't, Mike. So they said, well, you think I can go in there and look at that? I said, well, you're the chairman. You could probably do whatever you want. I said, well, I think I'll wait. But anyway, I want to be surprised like everybody else. So we got a farm bill done together. It wasn't easy, but we worked through it. And it takes an awful commitment, as you know, and dedication, and working with a lot of people that necessarily wouldn't work with to get that done. And so, Mike, we appreciate that good outcome and all your hard work. And as somebody has been through this a number of times, it's hard to overstate the amount of time and stress and investment that you put into viewing a farm bill. You know, I remember when I did the first one when I was chairman, I tell you what, I didn't think I'd survive. It's a tough process. So being chair, especially during a farm bill, takes over your schedule, consumes all your time, and blocks out many other things that you'd want to accomplish. But at the end of it all, you have a product that is hopefully good policy and makes the lives of farmers and ranchers and others in America better. So Suzanne and Mike's kids and grandkids have our thanks for their sacrifices and for sharing Mike with us for all of these years. So I want to say congratulations, Mike, again on your service, your time as chairman of the House Agriculture Committee, and all the best to you and Suzanne in your further endeavors. And we'll look forward to you looking over us in the future. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to the Master of Ceremonies, the Honorable Mr. Boozman from Arkansas.
Thank you all, and thank you, Colin, for being such a great partner to Mike and getting so much done for our agriculture community. You know, as we look here, we've got the who's who of the leaders in the ag world, and then also the movers and shakers in the House, and Senator Roberts is here, and again, we just appreciate the fact that so many here, and then I think we're live streaming to Texas, which is a big deal. I want to thank the U.S. Capitol Historical Society for their work in allowing Chairman Mike Conaway Portrait Fund to be part of the managed section by the Historical Society. We appreciate them. And and I'll say a few more things about Mike in a little bit. You say, well, what are you doing up here, John? And first of all, I miss you guys. But the other thing is, Mike and I had the pleasure to serve for 8 years in the House. And we appreciate his friendship and example in so many different ways, he and Suzanne. So let's have the opening prayer, and I think Congressman Walberg's going to come and do that for us.
Thank you, John. It's good to have you back. And Mike, thank you, knowing the man of faith that you are, that it's a commitment. It's not just a religion. Appreciate the opportunity to pray. Our Father God, what a privilege it is to come to the Creator of all things, the Creator of this good earth, the Creator as you designed it. You put man and woman on this earth, and you said, tend it. Tend everything about it, the fruits, the vegetables, the seed-bearing plants, the animals, because it's good. It's very good. You said that about your creation. And so today, to honor a man who honored your creation in his service to this great country, who served on this agriculture committee, who chaired it, who went through all, as Colin has said, the exactions as well as frustrations of farm bills, and yet did it in a way that was good. We thank you for his service. We thank you for his commitment to you, commitment to the fact that all things come from the earth that you've made, and took it seriously to do it for the people of this country as well as his great state and district. God, I pray that you'll bless him and his dear family in the days ahead with not only memories, but experiences that redound for the future, and allow him to continue to doing the things that promote the productivity of this good earth that you have given to us to be stewards of. And it's in the name of Jesus, my Savior, I pray. Amen.
Now, next we're going to have the Secretary of Ag come up and say some things. We appreciate the Secretary so much for all of his great work. He's in a very difficult position, as so many in leadership positions like this, really handling a very difficult situation where we're all working together for the benefit of the American public. So, Sonny, if you'll come up and... Thank you, Mr.
I'm just honored to be here. I know you all let the executive branch participate in these, so thank you very much. And it's a delight to be here, Madam Speaker, Leader, and to all of you. And we are honored to speak on and about my friends. Secretary of Agriculture is a cabinet position. I don't think I'm really qualified for it or any others, but I can tell you I've been blessed to serve under two different House chairmen, and both have been delightful to work with. And in the Farm Bill and creating that, the implementation of it, I take pride in the fact that the agricultural committees on both sides really are probably the least partisan, really most agriculturally oriented, which is very important in this country. So I take much pleasure and delight in that, but in having served with both, I know it's Mike's day, and Mike, I want to tell you what a privilege it was to have you as the first chairman under which we stepped into this role, and how meaningful that was. I think the most meaningful thing, in the state, I came from both the legislative and the executive branches, and I'm a big believer in representative government in the three branches of government. And I think the most, when I really began to admire Mike Conaway, was my visit to his district. And it was after Hurricane Harvey, and times were not really good there in the part of Texas. But as I went to Mike's district and hosted by Suzanne in their home, and it was obvious that Mike was revered in his district. I think that's the best compliment you can have among your constituents, and the best honor you can have is to be revered in your own district by the people you represent. That's really what representative democracy is all about. And I can assure you that's when I came to understand that Mike Conaway was not only a man of integrity, faith, and action up here, but he brought that same spirit of public servant, leader servant there to his district. And from a constituent service standpoint, I can assure you I heard from him as well in the best spirit of representative democracy. Suzanne, I got a little homework assignment though for you. I remember when we had the announcing the beef into China for the first time in several years, I sent Mike an emoji, had a cow and a clap and a prayer and a thumbs up. And he said, "What's that for?" So I think you need to go back to emoji school there a little bit, Mike, when you get home and learn about all this new conversation ability we got with our iPhones to understand what we're trying to say. But nonetheless, I know you were a big supporter in that, as many other things, and I hope we've done you and Colin proud in the implementation of the Farm Bill across the way. As I said, I fully recognize and respect the role of the legislative branch as an executive, unelected, appointed member. I respect very much the work that you do, and it's been a real honor to do that. I think the other thing that I saw in Mike Conaway's district was his most important constituency, and that was in his home, the relationship that he had with his family. And after all, folks, that's what it's really all about. The most important constituencies we have is that small circle that see us when the curtains are closed and the lights are turned off. And that's the kind of reputation Mike Conaway brought from home, from his Texas district, here to the House. And I've not seen that impugned in any way. So, Mike, congratulations. Thank you very much. It's been an honor to serve with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mike, you need to get with an 8-year-old kid to kind of fill you in on what's going on these days. Let me just say that, as I said earlier, I had the opportunity to serve with Mike for 8 years. I immediately became friends with him. Kathy, my wife, became friends with Suzanne. And I was drawn to him. You know, the nice thing about the House, you know, people ask me, what's the difference in the Senate and the House? You know, I think there's just a tremendous amount of camaraderie. And you've got all different friends on both sides and this and that. And that's really a nice thing. So, but I was drawn to him not because he immediately, you know, was becoming a very effective legislator. That was nice. But really because of the way he lived his life. He loved his family. He loved his friends. He loved the Lord. As the secretary said, you know, took care of his state, his district. And so for all of those different reasons, being a true public servant and just being a friend to so many of us. So we do appreciate you guys so very much. I want to recognize Robert Anderson. He's the gentleman that painted this. And so we're very anxious to see what it looks like. He's not here today, but we want to give him a big shout out. So we're very anxious to the speaker here is helping me, which I very much appreciate. So I guess we would like to do the unveiling then. So come on up and let's see what this looks like.
I have one job, so I gotta figure it out. Oh, it's not working. I'm kidding.
Oh.
Now we're going to hear from Kevin McCarthy. Kevin?
Thank you, Senator. When I first came to Congress, my next-door neighbor was the senator, congressman at the time, and he was from the right district with Little Debbie's, and he always brought that to the office, but it also brought a lot of mice, too, so I appreciate all that. You know, when you look at this portrait, it's beautiful. And this portrait will hang in here, and people will wonder, what's the story behind it? They'll know that he was the chair of the committee. They'll know he loved Suzanne. But what will it really tell? I want to tell you the story I will tell. When I came here, I served on this committee. It wasn't as nice as here. I was way out front. I think I had a folding chair. But I was drawn to Mike from the very beginning because of integrity. I watched that he prepared for his committees more thoroughly than anyone could imagine. I watched that he took me under his wing, not that I was from California, but he understood my district was more like Texas and like his than almost any other in the country. But I got put on another committee with him. It was over at the NRCC. I was a freshman. I remember Boehner asking me to serve on this audit committee. There's just two of us. We had just gone into the minority. And the first thing we discovered, we had somebody embezzle from us. And it wasn't because the person let us know, it was because Mike was accountant and figured it out. And you learn a lot about somebody in a time of crisis like that, how he righted the ship. It wasn't why he came to the House, but he just knew what to do the right things. Then I'll tell the story, how this job is not the easiest when it comes to families. But there's always a mentor out there to show you how to do it. as much as Suzanne as it is Mike. God had a plan for both of you to put you together. And what I love about it is you're not afraid to share that and tell it. And that's so helpful to so many of us. The other thing that many of us should know, this committee is always known to be bipartisan, but it's easier to go the other way. It's probably more difficult for Mike than anybody else in the country. You see, his district is conservative, but it's probably the most conservative next to Max. So it'd be easier to just say no. It'd be easier just to blame, but he always made the right decision in a tough decision because he believed in being a legislator. He knew his responsibility to go home that the cable industry would say something much different. So he wouldn't go home just to appease his constituents. He'd go home to show them that he was a leader, that he made the right decision and he wasn't fearful to explain it to them if they didn't understand it first. And the part that I will remember the most, as a whip, the Farm Bill is the hardest thing to pass. I learned it the hard way because it failed the first time I was whip. Mike was not chair then, but he was chairman in waiting. And he was an integral part of bring it back off the ground. But I remember this one issue, and I won't bring what the issue was, but it was one that we needed help with. And they had to make a decision. It's one of those decisions in leadership that you kind of regret at the time, and we did something that probably wasn't right. But we made a promise to Ag that we would correct it. I remember walking into this room. It wasn't Mike by himself, but it was then the ranking member. And I was so impressed that it wasn't talking to one side of the committee, I was talking to the committee of a whole. Because what they cared about was the food that America made. What they cared about, the ability of the farmers to do it and the next generation. And they spoke with one voice. And because they held together, we were able to right that ship. So yes, the painting's going to hang a long time, but your legacy is going to be so much more. And that will just be my story, but there'll be so many of those stories that will be told about you. Yes, I was sad when you told me you were leaving, but you earned the right to do it. Because you may not be in these halls, but I promise you, your character, your integrity will live on through so many of us that they've either watched how you carried yourself, or how we listened to you, or how you led us. So congratulations on a job well done. Thank you.
Kevin. Next, we're going to hear from the Speaker of the House. We're so pleased that she's here to accept the portrait, and we do very much appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Senator. It's always wonderful to be in this room because it does have a spirit of bipartisanship. As I came in, I was recalling some occasions when we've all come together here, when Mr. Chairman Peterson was leading a bipartisan ensemble called, the Second Amendment up here. And of course, it is a beautiful room, and others have poached on it in order to celebrate one thing or another. As long as we could hear the Second Amendment band, nobody cared about anything else. First time I came to an unveiling of chair of the Agriculture Committee was for Tom Foley. So I turned around to Mr. Peterson and I said, "Where's Tom Foley's picture?" He said, "Well, that was a while ago. He's in the other room." So I know Pat Roberts, Senator, it's an honor to have you back over here always. Your picture's right there. May it stay there. Just keep coming over and checking on it. We know that this is a special occasion, the unveiling of the portrait of the chairman of the Agricultural Committee. Isn't it a beautiful painting? Isn't it perfect? And how clever of him to have Suzanne in the picture. We love that. That's pretty nice. So, Suzanne, to you and to Aaron, who is here, your son, Aaron. Lovely to see you, Aaron. And to the rest of Mike's other children and grandchildren who are watching virtually. I can't wait till you can come here to see this actually, because it is quite a lovely likeness of a wonderful chairman. So we celebrate the unveiling of this portrait and your 15 years serving Texas, 11th District, Odessa, and Midland. And again, it's fitting that this portrait will oversee the activities in the Agriculture Committee, as I see Mr. Colin Peterson back here behind the screen here, but nonetheless looking over the work. And I know that you work together. And Mr. Leader, I would just say that one thing about the votes on the Farm Bill, how about when we had to override the veto a couple of times in one year? But we did that in a very bipartisan way. That's the only way you can override a veto. The distinguished secretary mentioned traveling to your district and seeing how you were revered there. I want to recall traveling with you to Normandy and to the Battle of the Bulge and to see your patriotism there. Thank you for being part of that in such a substantial way and bringing your stature as a leader in the Congress to those trips to say thank you to our veterans for their service to our country. So as chair of the Ag Committee, as a patriot in the Congress, thank you for your leadership, thank you for your service. Congratulations on this wonderful portrait, and as Speaker, it is my honor to accept the portrait into the House collection officially. Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, so much. Again, thank you for being here. In a second, Mike's going to come up and talk to us a little bit, but Kevin mentioned the Farm Bill, the Speaker mentioned the Farm Bill, and that is so very difficult. Pat Roberts is over here. He and Senator Stabenow, and then Colin, and you guys just did such a great job. So I think we had a record number of votes in the Senate. And I understand, these things are just so very difficult. The other thing that I think we did a really good job, and you all leading the charge, Mike, was really educating our members about how important this was. The difficulty that our farm community was in then, and even more difficulty now. So we do appreciate that. Mike, would you like to come up? And no, I was thinking. I've got to needle him a little bit. Mike and I played college football, and I was looking at that picture, and I was just thinking, what would his buddies think? But from back in the old days, if they saw the former chairman's picture on the wall in here. So again, you can be very proud.
Johnny, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Well, first off, thank you for the standing ovation. Appreciate that. It's always appreciated. Madam Speaker, Leader, Sonny, Colin, thank you very much. Pat's the only man on the face of the earth who's ever chaired this committee and the similar committee in the Senate. He trained here to do the good job he did in the Senate. But Pat, thank you for being here as well. Thanks everyone for being here. The rest of our family's online watching this thing. Want to quickly say thank you to Britt, and who just had a baby son earlier this morning. And in Kansas City, and Brooke, and my team for putting all this together today, getting everybody in the building and all those kind of things. It's a little odd these days trying to get folks in for this thing, so I want to thank those folks for that. I want to thank the artist who did this, Aaron. So I call him Snake, it's a nickname, but Aaron, the Reverend Aaron Conaway, told me that he was at an unveiling like this, in which when the artist talked a long time about it, they dropped the curtain and it was dead silent. And it began to just kind of pregnant clapping, because the man whose portrait bore no resemblance to the portrait whatsoever. And so a little nervous that would be the case, but Robert Anderson has done a great job. I want to thank that. The donors for the portrait are on the back of the program. Thank you for that as well. We use the words thank you across an incredible spectrum of emotions. Thank you for opening the door. Thank you for picking up something I dropped. This is always the other end of that spectrum. I can't tell you thank you enough with most sincerity, the deepest part of my heart, for everything that's gotten me to this point. Suzanne and I started, I don't know if somebody on my team just won a pot as to how long this would take. We started in December 2002 on this journey, and it's been an incredible experience, and one that's obviously the highlight of my professional career. I had a terrific career as a CPA before I got here, but this work that I've done the last 16 years has been stunningly gratifying and the highlight of my my professional career. As we said, we've got Aaron here today, Suzanne. I typically describe myself as Suzanne Conaway's husband because that's the deal. And I could not have done what I've done, succeeded the way I've succeeded without her steadfast, loving support throughout all of this. She's the author of some 8,500 handwritten thank you notes over the last 18 years. And so she wrote every donor. She finally decided that might get a little tedious, so she quit writing the ones up here, but she wrote everybody at home a thank you note. And so I would not be here today without her love and support and faithfulness to this job. And so thank you, sweetheart. Love of my life. And people asked me around the room this afternoon what I'm going to do next. And she made it abundantly clear that she married me for life, not lunch. And that next year, about 9 o'clock every day, I need to vacate the premises. And about 4 o'clock, I'm welcome back. That she does not need me supervising her routine on a daily basis. And so I'll be doing something. As mentioned, Suzanne and I have a terrific family. We have 4 children. They all have spouses. We have 7 grandchildren. And they're just terrific across the board, all of them successful in their own way, and we love them dearly. My 7 grandchildren, though, I've missed, as the members know, I've missed 16 years of their life doing the job that I love. I regret it in a sense, but I chose to serve, knowing that would be the case. And so, anyway, I got to run for family. The constituents at District 11, Sonny, there are a couple of them that don't revere me. Just go to my Facebook page from time to time, and you'll see those folks showing up. But they've elected me 8 times. When you vote for somebody for a job, you basically tell them, "I trust you. I trust you to go do that job, take that responsibility, honor the trust that we've done." And that's what I've tried to do for 16 years. And so the folks in District 11 have made this happen over and over again, and I can't thank them enough for their steadfast support throughout of all of this. No member gets to do what I've been able to do, to have this honor, to get to this point by themselves. It simply doesn't happen. There are hundreds and hundreds of people across District 11, many of them, everyone in this room today, that have had a piece of me getting to this point. I would not be here without each and every one of you that are there. The folks on my personal staff, many of them in the room as well. I've had the best staff you can imagine. The folks back home are chiefly responsible for me getting 80% of the vote each time because of the great constituent service work they've done. I've been blessed with them across that spectrum. My professional staff here has been top notch. I have a relatively low turnover. And I've been blessed by that. Each and every one of them have contributed mightily across the entire spectrum. Committee staff, I also chair the Ethics Committee. It'll surprise you that we don't do this for the Ethics Committee. There's not a big constituency for the House Ethics Committee, but I had staff there. I've served, blessed to serve on the Intel Committee for a long time, and the staff there, and then my Ag Committee staff here, and the Farm Bill that everybody's talked about so far. We would not have gotten as good a Farm Bill as we got without the stunningly good hard work that my team put in. I can't name them all because we'd be here for a long, long time, but no one in this room but the people who did it and the leadership of that team know the number of hours they put in, the number of things that they missed with their family, making sure that we were trying to get that job done. It spanned to Thanksgiving. I think most of them took Thanksgiving lunch off. Several of them came back after Thanksgiving during the day to come back up here to keep pushing on that to try to get to that 369 votes that we got to a record in the House. It would have been 371, but Vicki was home taking care of her mom who had passed away, and then one of our good colleagues was wandering around the Senate and just missed the vote, who later told me, one of my Texas colleagues, who later told me that he would have voted for it. So it would have been 371, but we got a record in the House, John, as well as a record in the Senate. That, again, did not happen by itself. A stunning amount of work went into to getting that there and across that board. I look around the room and I see the folks from the ag groups, the professionals in the ag groups, as well as the individual, real people from back home ag groups. When I started this job in 2005, as a CPA, I'd done a lot of folks' tax returns. And Colin, I did not tell anybody that I had never prepared a Schedule F. Schedule F is the form that farmers use to file their tax return with. And so I know so little about the farming business that I'd never done a Schedule F for any of my clients. And so a tremendous amount of trust from those folks that I could get 10 years later to start the process of during that 4 years of earning this portrait. But they trusted me to get it done, and then they shepherded me every step of the way. They answered my tail questions. They helped me through the mistakes I was making. They helped me understand the business to know that I could get to the point where my colleagues would trust me to be able to chair this committee. Kevin mentioned the things that I'd done. Kevin's been a terrific leader on the Republican side and is responsible for a lot of the things I've been able to do throughout this entire process. But I look around and I see the eyes of everybody in here that's had a good part, a big piece. I see former chiefs of staff. I see a former member who's a chief of staff. I see others who just have made an invaluable contribution to what I got to do, to the bragging that I've been able to that you're doing for me today. Back home, people tell me all the time, well, great that you did X, Y, or Z on a constituent service work. My colleagues know that we don't do that, but our team does it. It's great to be a member because you've got a great team back home that does good stuff, and then we get credit. And so it's wonderful to be us. But I really can't thank everybody often enough, and from sincerely enough for all the things that have done on my behalf to get us to this point. And thank each and every one of you for being here today. I know it was a hassle, unusual hassle. Some of you, though, this is the first time you've been back since March or April, and you're kind of excited to be back in the buildings and that kind of stuff. I understand that. Pat Roberts here as well, as mentioned. But thanks, everybody, for everything you've done. I would not be here today, left to my own devices, left to my own skills, but for that. And I also want to thank the Lord has people ask me why I did this job. There's a verse in Luke 12:48 that says, "To whom much is given, much is required." God blessed me with a little bit of talent and a great deal of some terrific life experiences, but He's also blessed me immeasurably with people in this room, friends all over District 11 that you're here representing, that have made our lives so much richer than it would have otherwise been. The friendships and the relationships we built through the fights, through the struggles, are invaluable, and I'll take them with me forever. I may leave these halls, but you all will never leave my heart. And so I can't say it any more sincerely. Thank you so very, very much for this great honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. I think that concludes our program. We got a bunch of brownies back there. I've already got mine. I was afraid that you all would get them all. So let's eat up and visit. And again, congratulations, Mike and Suzanne. This is a wonderful portrait.